Am I the a-hole for telling my mom and biological father I will always pick my dad over my bio father because my dad's my real dad? When I, 17 male, was 7 and my siblings were 9 and 10, we found out our mom was cheating on our dad. She wanted to leave dad and told him none of us were his kids. She told us too. She said the guy she was leaving to be with was our real dad and that we should all be a family. Dad said we were his kids and that we'd do DNA tests, but it wouldn't change how he felt about us. My siblings got lucky. Dad was their biological father. But the other guy turned out to be mine, which really messed me up because I hated knowing I was connected to this random dude. Mom got what she wanted by having at least one of us be this guy's kid. I know she'd have preferred all of us, but even just me seemed to make her so happy. Dad was on my birth certificate and fought to have 50-50 custody of me, just like he had with my siblings. I think my siblings being biologically his worked in our favor with the judge deciding on this unusual custody battle and Dad sharing custody of all 3 of us. My mom and Vince fought the decision and they got a guardian ad litem involved, as well as someone from CPS or another agency. The decision stayed the same. It was agreed that this was the best outcome for me by the new people involved. Mom and Vince did everything they could to try and win me over to Vince. And they tried with my siblings too, but mostly with me, since Vince didn't really care about my siblings because they weren't his biological kids. None of us wanted to be with them, but we had no choice. We didn't make it pleasant for them, and I never tried to accept Vince as my dad. That was something Mom told me I should do, but I always replied that I already have a dad, and Vince would never be him. I never chose Vince over my dad, even though Vince has tried very hard to create our thing with me. I was always clear that I wasn't giving him a chance. It's a fight that has never ended. I tried to use this argument a year ago to get a judge to allow me to stay with Dad, but he ruled that I have to keep going until I'm 18, or Dad could face fines or lose custody. I might stop going a month before I turn 18 since they wouldn't be able to take it before a judge in time, but I also might keep going for Dad's sake. I don't want him punished any more than he already has been. His wife cheated on him, and he found out one of his kids isn't biologically his. Mom and Vince brought it up again last week. Vince had wanted me to go on a fishing weekend with him, and I did go. He got upset, and Mom was upset on his behalf. They said I'd go for Dad, and I said, yeah. Then they said I always pick Dad over Vince. I said, yes. They complained, and I told them I always will because Dad is my real dad, not Vince. I said Vince will never be my dad. I told them they can't change how I feel. I said they blew up my life when they made me biologically not my dad's, and I would never forgive them. I also said I'm not a toy Vince can take out whenever he feels like it. They tried to lecture me about it, but I walked away. I kept walking away when they started saying how crappy I'm being. Am I the a-hole? Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole. You're handling this appropriately and very maturely. In no ways are you the a-hole. It's very commendable how he's handling the situation. OP's mom and Vince are trying to guilt trip him into a relationship he doesn't want. His loyalty to his dad is completely justified given how much he's done for him. Not the a-hole. Sometimes DNA means nothing. In some cases, Dad is the one who raised you, not the sperm donor. Of course that's not true all the time, but in your case it is. My wife's son chose me at 7 years old. He took my name and all I stand for. He tells everyone he's Scots-Irish. He's 100% Mexican. He's 50 now and sticking to his guns. Not the a-hole. Tell your mom she should be proud you have chosen to align with and emulate your dad versus her chosen partner. Most parents would be thankful their children are taking the ethical high ground instead of the path of least resistance. It sounds like your mom was cheating on your dad for over 10 years and then used it as a weapon to hurt your dad and try to punish him for her mistakes by removing access to his kids. She sounds spiteful, selfish, and like an emotionally unhealthy person. Next story. Am I the a-hole for not wanting to go to my stepdad's funeral? I, 20 female, recently found out my stepdad, James, passed away. And honestly, I don't want to go to the funeral. My mom and some of my family are all over me about it, saying I'm being selfish and disrespecting the dead, but I just can't bring myself to go. James married my mom when I was 7, and from day one, he made it clear he didn't want me around. He would call me a burden and say I ruined his life by trapping my mom. I swear the man only saw me as a maid or free childcare. While my mom worked long shifts to keep the house running, James would sit around barking orders at me. I wasn't allowed to be a normal kid. No friends over, no hobbies, no school activities, because there was always something I had to clean or fix. And God forbid I didn't do it perfectly. He'd yell, call me lazy, and sometimes even throw things to prove a point. It got worse as I got older. By the time I was 15, I was cooking every meal, scrubbing the house top to bottom, and basically raising my little brother. My mom would just say things like, it's his way of showing love, or his trust. The day I turned 18, I left and didn't look back. I got my own place, worked my butt off, and started building a life for myself. I've barely spoken to James in 2 years, and honestly, I didn't plan to. But now that he's gone, everyone expects me to show up like nothing happened. My brother said I should suck it up because he's not worth causing drama in the family. But I can't. The thought of sitting there listening to people talk about what a good man he was, while knowing everything he put me through, makes me sick. I don't even know if I'd be able to keep my mouth shut. Still, now I'm starting to feel bad. Maybe I should go just for my mom? But at the same time, I feel like it's unfair that I have to pretend this guy didn't ruin my childhood. So, am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole. You have the freedom to choose what you believe is best for you. You're right, and that's what I'm going to choose no matter what anyone else says. Cut off the dead weight. Your mom hasn't supported you since you were 7 years old. You moved out and are doing good for yourself. Don't jeopardize all your hard work and mental health for people who haven't gave a damn about you since you were little. Not the a-hole. Funerals are for the living. The dead don't care. They're dead. If there is no benefit in attending it, don't attend it. There will be no benefit in attending only bad memories of my childhood. Not the a-hole. You owe your mother nothing. She's just as complicit for how you were treated. She knew that you had to do everything around the house, and she made excuses for her rotten husband. Time to make your excuses and not to go to the funeral. She never took my side and never protected me like a mother should do. Might be time to go low or no contact for a while. Best thing I ever did for myself. Maybe you're right about going no contact with the rest of them. Next story. Am I the a-hole for inviting my grandparents to see me get an award, but not my parents and step-parents? My parents divorced when I 16 male was 4. I don't know why or what their marriage was like. What I do know is that their divorce has been very competitive since they remarried other people. My dad has been married to Wendy since I was 6, and my mom has been married to Sam since I was 7. I have half siblings in both houses, 3 at my mom's and 2 at my dad's. There's also Sam's recently discovered son who's 18. Sam had no idea he existed until a couple of months ago. I love my parents. I don't always like them, but I do love them. I don't hate my step-parents. I don't feel the same way about them as I do about my parents, but I have friends with worse step-parents. Neither set, as in mom/stepdad or dad/stepmom, feels like my collective parents, and the 4 together definitely don't. My mom and dad are my parents, but sometimes I feel less like their kid and more like a pawn or something. I'm always asked what it's like at the other parent's house, even now. Questions like, do I have fun there? Do they do X? Does this happen? Then I'll get asked if I like being there. Usually, I'm also asked, would you rather live with the asking parents or the other parent? I'm also asked things like, isn't Wendy better than mom at this? Is it Sam doing more fat than dad? My step-parents are always watching how I interact with the other step-parent, and both have accused me of being more affectionate with the other. I'm also watched to see if I'm closer to my mom's other kids or my dad's other kids. When they're all in the same room, they sometimes argue over who my actual parents are. My mom's side of the family is a lot like my parents and step-parents. They talk about how I should be a mama's boy and how they're surprised I didn't choose to live with mom and Sam more. My dad is an only child, but his parents, they're the best support I could ask for. They let me vent about all 4 parents, and they've spoken up for me to both mom and dad before. They always tell me I don't need to pick sides and that it's okay if I don't feel great with either. They've said it shouldn't be that way, but it's on the adults who didn't provide me with healthy environments, not on me. Whenever there is a debate over who takes me to art or game development classes or anything related to those, I call my grandparents for help. So when I found out I was winning an award for my game development class, my grandparents were my first choice to invite, and they ended up being my only choice. My parents had no idea it was anything other than a typical class. My grandparents took me out to celebrate afterward. It took 2 weeks for Mom and Wendy to notice the photos of the awards on Facebook and realize what had happened. Now Dad and Wendy and Mom and Sam are angry that I invited my grandparents instead of them. Am I the a-hole? Now for the comments. Not a-hole. Your grandparents sound like caring, supportive, and wise people. Your parents sound like typical divorced, remarried adults who often behave more like children. I think you made a right decision about who to invite to the award ceremony. They're the ones who always step up when you need to be driven to this extracurricular activity. Inviting them to attend was a respectful and thoughtful way to honor them. Now, if it were your high school graduation, I might not be quite so quick to agree. But in this case, I think what you did was entirely acceptable. In the future, you might consider doing your parents the courtesy of letting them know beforehand what is going on and that you plan to invite just your grandparents. At 16, you're approaching adulthood, and it's expected that you exhibit some independence in certain areas. Handling things like this is a good start. Stay close to your grandparents. They sound like good people. They've been around for a while and often have good advice to share and interesting stories to tell. I didn't want them to show up and ruin it anyway. That might not be the best reason not to say anything beforehand, but I know they would just see it as a reason to show up, and then they'd fight over me again. They could have gone without me inviting them since tickets weren't required or anything. I'm seriously considering skipping my graduation ceremony in a couple of years. I could collect my diploma early like some kids do, and just skip the whole event since it would probably be more stressful than enjoyable for me. My parents and step-parents aren't great at being supportive in the moment because they're too busy fighting and competing for me. It makes me wish I didn't live with any of them. My grandparents are amazing. They tell cool stories and seem to have reached a level of maturity that I'm not sure either of my parents or step-parents will ever reach. Jesus, your life sucks. Good news is you have awesome grandparents. Just 2 more years of being a minor and you are free to carve out the life you want and know the persons you don't want to be. My life could be worse, and I totally understand that. But it sucks being caught in the middle where you have to ask whether any of the 4 actually care about me or whether they just dislike each other so much that I am an easy pawn. Last story. Am I the a-hole for declining to bring my half-brother, shared mother, to family functions on my father's side? This is an old issue between me, 40 male, and my family, but it's been brought up again due to some current family drama. Long story short, my parents had a messy divorce when I was 14. My mother really resents my dad's side of the family. She thinks they always looked down on her. On the other hand, my dad's side doesn't like her because of past issues and because she cheated on my dad before the divorce. I don't want to give too much backstory to avoid clouding the issue, but suffice it is to say the divorce was really hard on me and my younger brother. Our parents didn't want to talk to each other, so we were used as messengers and put in the middle of a crappy situation. Fast forward a couple of years, my mother remarried and had a son. My brother and I were 17 and 14 at a time, so it's not shocking that we weren't thrilled about adding a baby to the family, especially when money was already tight, and both my mom and stepdad worked. Basically, we were, voluntold, into babysitting duties a lot, and we were also expected to pull more weight around the house than I felt was fair. On top of that, there was now a screaming baby in the house. We did actively resent our new half-brother and did our best to treat him like family. As much as a 17 and 14-year-old can between school, after-school jobs, friends, girlfriends, etc. But it was a hard couple of years. My younger brother and he got kinda close, but honestly, I had one foot out the door to university and left home before he was due. I went to school far enough away that I didn't get to visit very often and never really got close to him. The issue came after I moved away from university. I'd come home to visit for the regular holidays and summers for the first couple of years. Then basically just sporadic visits once workload started to get serious. Every time I came home, I'd have maybe 3 to 4 days to visit both sides of the family. My mom's and dad's side, who both lived within a 30-minute driving radius in a small town. On top of that, I had to make time to visit my stepdad's family and try to find 5 minutes to catch up with friends. My mother would insist that my brother and I bring our half-brother everywhere with us. You don't visit that long. You need to spend as much time with him as you can. He's your brother. This included family gatherings on my dad's side. This is the sore spot. There was already a lot of tension between the sides of the family, and it was really uncomfortable bringing my half-brother to family gatherings, where it was clear he was not part of that family. They were never rude or mean to him, but he didn't have the history, didn't know the traditions, inside jokes, etc. It felt like I brought a huge neon sign that said, "Hey, check out what that woman who cheated on your son made." Besides that, I barely had enough time to visit my family on my dad's side. It felt like I was constantly missing out on catching up with them because I had to spend the whole time looking after my half-brother, who didn't know anyone there and was, frankly, a bit confused about why he was even there. After a few times, I put my foot down and told my mom I would no longer be taking my half-brother to functions on my dad's side. I explained that they weren't his family, and she had made it very clear she hated pretty much everyone on my dad's side. Honestly, I think her sending my half-brother with me was less about spending time with him and more about trying to insert herself into their lives passive-aggressively, twisting the knife in deeper. This caused a huge blowout and was probably the beginning of the long downward spiral in my relationship with my mom. Old wounds have been reopened recently, and this issue is being brought up again as the reason all this started. So what's the verdict? Am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole. He isn't your dad's family. There's no reason for him to go to things that involved your dad's side of the family. He isn't related to them by blood or by marriage. And if your mom hates your dad and his family so much anyway, she really shouldn't want to expose the boy, now young man, to them. Not the a-hole. You're an adult, so it's a fair decision given that mother dislikes father's folks and vice versa. Go low contact with mother if she carries on pressuring you. Harsh facts being nobody in dad's respects her because the woman is a cheater. Marriages do not always last, but it would have been better to divorce before bedding another man. We've been low contact for years. There's just stuff happening in the family. Aging grandparents, my half-brother's wedding, and other stuff that's forced contact and opened old wounds. So now 20 years of family drama is being rehashed.